If your kid had a hard time with math last year, they're likely not looking forward to math this year. They're probably thinking, I'm going to be lost again. And this is because when kids experience a struggle with math, day after day, week after week, month after month, test after test, they can develop a learned helplessness, a feeling that they're not in control of their learning. Even kids with a positive attitude who are saying, well, maybe it'll be better this year because I'll have a better math teacher, they still might be feeling like their fate is in someone else's hands. So now that we're starting a new school year, this is a great time for your kid to break out of that learned helplessness and start gaining some control over their learning. Here are a few suggestions for how they can do that. First, if your child gets a textbook, have them use the textbook. I think that textbooks are the most readily available and underutilized tool that students have. Most textbooks have a blurb about whatever the topic is at the beginning of the chapter, and then provide a series of worked examples, so meaning solved problems, that your kid can look at and really analyze to understand how to do the homework problems. They can also use the answer key when possible to see if they got the problem right. And if they didn't, they can use that correct answer to work backwards and figure out what went wrong. Another great resource are study guides. I'm talking about paper. Go to your local bookstore or Barnes & Noble or go on Amazon and get your kid a study guide that covers the math course they're going to be taking. I think that it's really helpful because all these books will have a table of contents. So your kid can find where the topic is that they're learning about and read usually just maybe 2 pages with great diagrams about that topic. There are some great online resources that your kids can use as well. I really like MathBitsNotebook.com and Khan Academy. So here on MathBits Notebook, you have a list of math courses from middle school through Algebra 2. Say your child is in Algebra 1, they tap their course, and they'll see a list of topics for that course. So maybe they're working on sequences, and it's the recursive form. So they tap that lesson, and they get an explanation, they get some examples, and then there's another page to do practice problems with feedback. Now, one of the things that students sometimes find challenging is actually just finding the right lesson on these websites. What they can do is open a browser and type in mathbitsnotebook.com, and then whatever the topic is, recursive sequences, and some websites will come up. The first one is the page they're looking for. Next is AI. There are a lot of great apps out there for math that students can get on their phones. The one I'm most familiar with is called Photomath. You can take a photo of a math problem and the app will solve it. But what's so important is that it will show all of the steps in the solution and explain the reason for each step. So if you have a child who will likely just get the answer, write it down, and be done, it's not the best tool. But most students will actually use it to try and learn the material. Let's talk about ChatGPT. It isn't perfect, but it can be very helpful for math. So suppose your child gets this problem. The ratio of boys to girls in a class is 5-7. What fraction of the class is girls? And maybe your child struggles with this problem, ends up checking the answer key, and finds out that it's 7/12. And they just can't understand why. They can go into ChatGPT and type, I'm in 7th grade. I don't understand why girls are 7/12 of the class if the ratio of boys to girls is 5-7. Explain in 5 sentences or less. I think this part is important because when it's too long, it's harder for kids to understand. And this is the answer they get. If the ratio of boys to girls in your class is 5-7, it means for every 5 boys, there are 7 girls. To find out what fraction of the class is girls, you add the parts of boys and girls together. 5 + 7 = 12 parts. The girls are 7 out of these 12, so the fraction is 7/12. I think that's a pretty straightforward explanation that a kid that just needs a little extra help could really use. So get your kids the resources they need for the new school year and get them in control of their learning.